This video showing how use the Ant Visual Modeler to develop a production planner software using the declarative programming features. Select New from File menu and create a new model. This model will contain the main class, called Company. Create a new class and call this Order. This class will contain the information of each production order to be planned by the software. Add a new class, Operation. It will be part of Order and have information regarding the production of desired product. The new Equipment class represents the machinery owned by the company. Task class will contain information regarding each task associated to each equipment. Now, we will proceed to create the relationship between the model classes. In the Ant Visual Model exists three types of relationships: one-to-many, one-to-one and sequences. The relationship could be ownership or basic relationships. The company owns a set of customer orders with final goods to be manufactured. Depend of the product to be produced, each order has one or more operations to be executed. The model contains a representation of all physical equipment in the company. Each equipment has a sequence of scheduled tasks. The goal of the planning process is schedule each operation. In other words, at the end, each operation will be associated at one task to be executed by one equipment in a specific time. The next step is add class properties. The visual modeler has two types: normal properties where the model can store values, and the declarative properties. This ones could be seen like a calculated cell in an electronic spreadsheet. In other words, the value of declarative properties will be calculated automatically in real time when some of its dependencies object change. We will create three properties for the order: the customer and the required product and quantity to be produced. Operation class represents a unit of work to be planned in a single task. His properties are the equipment type where the work can be executed and a Boolean property, already scheduled. This property will be true when the operation is associated to a task. The equipment has three properties: the ID and unique identifier, the equipment type property, and the start work. This date-time property indicates the time when the equipment is ready to begin the production. Finally, the task properties are a task description, the task duration, and two date-time properties: his start and end times. At this point we already identified some properties that depend from different objects from the model. These are the declaratives properties. The task and time depend of his start time and his duration. The start time depend of the previous task and time. As we already mentioned, the operation class property, already scheduled, is true if the operation was associated with a task. We will add a new declarative property to the equipment class: disengage time. This property will contain the time when the equipment becomes idle. This property depends of the end time of the last equipment task. Now, we will use the visual modeler declarative programming capacity in order to specify the dependencies. This capability makes the large models more performance. We can specify the dependency for all calculated properties. In our model, the task and time depends on its start time and duration. Each equipment can execute one task at a time. For these reasons we defined an ordered sequence of tasks associated to each equipment. Then the task and time define the start time for the next task. The end time for the last task in the sequence defines the disengage time for the related equipment. In other words, defines when the equipment becomes idle. If the equipment don't have task, then the equipment start time defines the disengage time. If there are one or more tasks associated to the equipment start work define the start time of his first task. The operation already scheduled is setting to true when the model adds a new task to an equipment. We can specify this functionality making a dependency between the task property and the already scheduled property. Finally, to complete the functionality for our model, we're going to add a new dependency. The equipment start time determines the start time for the first task in his sequence. Now, the Visual Modeler can generate the C# source code and the Microsoft Visual Studio 2010 solution. We will demonstrate how we can manipulate the model and generate the user interface in the next videos.